IVM.
We'd like to thank Storytel for sponsoring this show. Storytel is an audiobook platform that allows you to listen to audiobooks wherever you are, on your mobile, on your PC, wherever you want to listen to them. You can get a great deal at storytel.com/IVM. This week I'm going to recommend The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. It's one of the most famous books that I've seen. It's at all the bookstores, but it's such a beautiful read. If you haven't read it, do give it up. It's about the story of Afghanistan between the end of the monarchy to up until about 2000 or so, just post 9/11. Really, really interesting stuff. Give it a listen. It's just a great book. You can go get it at storytel.com/IVM. When you go and sign up at this link, you'll get the first month for just 99 rupees instead of 299. That's 200 rupees off. Go check it out, storytel.com/IVM.
Hey guys, welcome to the Positively Unlimited podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing a trick, a life hack, a tip, a tool, call it what you may, but it is something that if you practice right, if you do it right, then you will gain clarity. As a child, did you ever play the joining the dots puzzle? You know, the one where you had these dots that were numbered and you had to join them in a certain sequence. And in the end, it would reveal an image, which would usually be a frog, a flower, a house, different images. You remember playing that game? Well, one aspect of finding your life purpose, or one tool that you need to use in order to find your life purpose, is to learn to join the dots. Now, what do I mean? Well, there are things that are base nature. It's inherent qualities that you were born with. There are things that you have learned. And so you have a certain behavior and certain personality traits that are because of your conditioning and your experiences growing up. Then there are certain experiences that you have had and certain things that you have said as a child. And there is that little bit about what attracts you, what interests you. In order to understand your life purpose, in order to start peeling off the layers, you need to be able to join the right dots between all of these different aspects of you and your life. I'm going to give you an example from my life, and I'm also going to explain to you why I always say that your life purpose may not necessarily be. Well, let me explain this to you by sharing my journey. A lot of what I'm going to share is stuff that I have learned and realized in hindsight. However, the day that I signed up for my life coaching course was the day when I had finally realized my life purpose, and it was the result of that one-line brief that I had come down to. So the idea of finding your life purpose is not about finding a career path or something that will make you famous or something that will earn you money. It is your one-line brief. A one-line brief that will influence every aspect of your life, whether it is personal or professional. So, as a child, I was always the problem solver amongst friends. Yes, as far back as I can remember, when we played games like Lock and Key or Dog in the Bone, and there were fights between a couple of friends, I would be the one who would solve the fight, who would play the mediator. I was also the person who was the leader of the gang. I was always ready to take charge and get things done. Now, this was an inherent quality. What I have described just now is my base nature. So I want you to think back into your childhood, and I want you to describe yourself. And maybe you won't remember all of it clearly. So make sure you ask your parents, you ask your older siblings, you ask your friends who have been with you since 2 or 3 years old, maybe even school friends. Ask them what kind of a person were you, what was your nature like, what were your strengths, what were your flaws, and you will start to find your inherent qualities. Now, that's one aspect of it. The second aspect was about experiences and conditioning, traits and behaviors, mindsets that I developed because of the life that I was living. when growing up. And I became the person who always had the resilience to face a tough time. I was always the shoulder to cry on. I was comforting people and holding them through tough things that they were going through, whether it was a divorce in their house, whether it was a loss of a parent, whether it was moving cities, whether it was something small as heartbreaks. Yes, when you're a teenager, heartbreaks are the smallest thing that we often go through, and yet it seems like the biggest. But if you look back at those aspects of your life, you will find the qualities, the mindsets, the patterns that you were developing. So, you know my inherent qualities. I've now shared some of the qualities and mindsets and patterns that I developed. Now, let me also come to work. At work, I was always the one who was bursting with ideas. I mean, yes, there were lots of them like me. I'm not the only one. But I had the ideas. I would take charge of a situation. I would be right there to do any kind of damage control. So all the qualities that I have described to you from childhood, whether they were inherent qualities or things I learned, they were put into action as I got into the workforce. When I got a job in the ad agency, when I moved to the publishing house, when I moved to the digital company, and so on. Now, as I kept moving through my career, and at some point when a very close friend of mine, Anahata Meher, who many of you may have seen on my Instagram or may even be connected to, she got into the healing world and she introduced me to this path. Yes, my journey first started with alternative healing. And I learned techniques like tarot card reading, chakra healing, and biotouch, which is a touch healing for any physical ailment. But even when I got into the field of healing, and although I had learned these techniques and I had a certain small set of clientele, the thing that I was doing more was to promote other healers, to work as somebody who can do the marketing or to set up events or to organize certain workshops. That's the part that I was nudging myself into. Now you may ask why. Possibly because for the last 15 years in my career, that is what I had done. That was my forte. So again, I was taking all my conditioning, my learning, my experiences, my growth that I had experienced through my career and putting it into action. However, as I became a healer, I somewhere chose to build a practice where I would work with people one-on-one instead of teaching people the techniques that I knew, which was the path a lot of other healers were taking. And as I started to work with people on a one-on-one basis, that's when my inherent qualities and those personality traits that I developed as a child started to come to the fore. Now, when I look back, I could see that somewhere it was almost as if the universe had set me up for this. For as long as I can remember, I've been the in case of emergency number on a lot of friends' phones, on a lot of friends' lists, right? So for me to get into the healing space and help clients through whatever they may be going through, somewhere came naturally. I won't say it was easy, but it came naturally. However, that was not the end of the journey. That was not because I had found my life purpose. Honestly, I found my one-line brief almost 2 years into this journey, right? Through those initial years of being a healer and practicing chakra healing and biotouch, there was one question that kept gnawing at me. What am I doing? What am I trying to achieve? What is the end game or what is the point of being this practitioner? What kind of a practitioner do I really want to be? And I wrote many answers to what am I actually doing? I wrote it in many different words. Sometimes it was a paragraph, sometimes it was 2 sentences, but eventually I was able to boil it down to a single phrase. And it was when I discovered the single phrase, it was when I penned that down that I went and enrolled myself in the life coaching program, because that is when I knew very clearly that this had to be my next step. And those 2 words that I wrote down was changing lives. So if you ask me what is my one-line brief, it is to change lives. My answer to what am I actually doing is I am changing lives. Now, when I look at this, you have to know that this is literally how I am in my personal and professional life. And that's why I say that your life purpose, and this is the reason why I tell you that your life purpose is not a career, it's a one-line brief. You need to come to that one-line brief, to that one single sentence. And in today's episode, what I'm trying to teach you to do is to join the dots in your life. It doesn't matter how old you are. Just look back, talk to the people in your life, and try to figure out which dots do you need to join. And you will start to see a certain pattern. And through that pattern, you will understand your one-line brief. And when you can put it down as clearly as I could in a single sentence, you will know whether you are living your purpose right now, or you will know that from now on, that is who you need to become. So on that note, I'm going to head out of here. But I will urge you to go and listen to every episode in this particular series of A to Z, where I've spoken about finding your life purpose. Why? Because discovering your life purpose, understanding it, is not about just answering a question. It has many different aspects to it, and you need to approach it from many different angles. You need to be able to join the dots. If you're wondering how can you listen to all these past episodes, well, it's pretty simple. Simply log on to the IVM Podcast website or download their app. Also, you can connect with us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is IVM Podcasts. And if you would like to connect with me, my handle is Positivity Angel.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Storytel and TheWholeTruthFoods.com. So, great week on the network. Number of really, really interesting shows for you guys to check out. Here are a couple of the ones that I would like to highlight for you. Check out This Round Is On Me. Gauri Devi Dayal talks to her husband Jay Yusuf about mixing business and pleasure. They're the husband and wife business partners at Food Matters Company. Give it a shot. Really fun show. On Nankari, they speak about chaat, the queen of the street foods. A fun episode. They canvass the beauty and romance of street food, its cultural importance in a city, and they also discuss the unfortunate harassment that street vendors sometimes go through. On Paisa Vaisa, we had Madhuchanda. They joined Anupam talking about the budget and the different aspects of it. Storytellers and Storytellers features Shreyansh Pandey, creator of Gulak, a great conversation and some interesting insights into facilitating and nurturing writers. Do check that out. On Thale Harate, the Kannada podcast, Mansi Prasad spoke to Pawan Srinath about the history and appreciation of Indian music. It's a really interesting conversation. They discuss classical music and how it evolved in India, what are the various musical instruments and how they developed. Really, really fun, interesting stuff. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
From uncensored and unfiltered chats with the who's who of the entertainment industry, I, Siddharth Kannan, bring your very heartcake chat show called Candid Kannan. Tune in every Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.